Friends, good afternoon. Friends, pupils, parents, staff, governors, former staff, former governors, old Leightonians, vintage old Leightonians, and of course especially our guest of honour today, John Ounsted, headmaster of Leighton Park from 1948 to 1970. It is wonderful that John is with us today for this unique occasion. I want to thank him, not only John for coming, but to thank his daughter Tanya for making it all possible. Her daughter Sasha is here too, and we are sorry that not more of the family could be, but they are dispersed around the world. And of course, on a personal note, it is a sadness that John's dear wife Irene wasn't able to be with us just today. We think of her very much as we're all gathered here at Leighton Park for what is a historic occasion. The Leighton Park that we know is the school it is because of all those who have gone before. Pupils and staff who have made LP what it was for them and what it is for us. Those who have helped the school grow from the first 4 pupils who came in through the door in 1890 to the 475 who are here today. Growth means new facilities and new classrooms. And behind us here is the latest addition to the park's collection. Some of those who have gone before have made a particular impact on the school and helped to determine its future. And amongst those, of course, is John Ounsted. Perhaps foremost amongst those. I think John will always remain the headmaster who has served the school for longest, with his 22 years. In his time, the school grew from around 200 to over 300. It had an extraordinarily large sixth form, and the finances of the school were completely transformed after a very difficult beginning. A whole host of new buildings at the time appeared during John Ounsted's time at the school. And while there was, as we know, a lot of brilliant teaching that took place then as well, John himself was the first to say, yes, brilliant teaching, fine, but just not too much teaching. One of John's many aphorisms, which holds so much truth, that still is valid today. Leighton Park aimed, John has said, at giving people a love of knowledge and skills, and confidence in their ability to discover knowledge for themselves and to ponder its significance and applications. Those are worthy aims, and we who follow in his footsteps can only try to achieve them as best we can in each succeeding generation. Being a headmaster has its moments. It's never easy, but I think for John Ounsted there were 2 particular challenges that he faced with remarkable success. When he arrived, he was the youngest member of staff, and I can only imagine what that must have meant. He was, I think, 27, 28, which in itself was almost unbelievably young for a headmaster. He was also the first non-Quaker headmaster, and that was pioneering a new tradition. Obviously, I'm very glad he did pioneer it, but it must have raised a few eyebrows at the time. But John, of course, was amongst those who worked so hard to ensure that those original Quaker values of the school remained like a red thread through its development, however many new buildings went up. When John left, he went on to be an inspector, and the portrait of him by an old Leightonian, Anthony Hodge, which hangs in Peckover Hall, has been reproduced in the leaflet given to our visitors and guests this afternoon. Some of you will have seen the original. In an HMI report of the 1950s, after an inspection of the school, the inspectors concluded in their wisdom, and I quote, There is obviously life and vigour in the enterprise. A fairly condescending comment. What the inspectors couldn't fathom was why the school worked and how it worked in the long term, and what would become of these unruly, rebellious young people, young boys, 20 and 30 years later. But John Ounsted knew. He knew. And the affection in which he is held by all of those who knew him at the time and who have known him since is testament itself to the giant of a man that he is. It is an enormous privilege that I've been able to meet him since coming to Leighton Park. We have here now the John Ounsted building. It isn't officially open, although John has been privileged to watch the first ever maths lesson that will be taught in that building, which happened a little earlier this afternoon. And I'm very grateful to Bridget Evans, head of maths, for being so brave as to have a class in there just now with a former inspector sitting eagle-eyed at the back of the classroom. Now, just before I ask John to say a few words and open the building, I have to tell you that when I asked John just earlier on if it was okay then just to ask John to open the building, he said, "But I will be able to say a few words, won't I?" And of course, that's the highlight of the afternoon. But just before that, I'd like to present to John a little souvenir of the occasion. We have here, I hope you're able to see it, the first formal photograph taken of the new John Ounsted building, which we hope John will be able to keep as a memento of today. I'd like to present that with him now, with our gratitude and our warmest affection. The other person I want to thank especially today is John's daughter Tanya, who has moved heaven and earth to make it possible for her father to be with us. And we'd like to present Tanya with a little bouquet of flowers to express our love and affection to Tanya as well.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
What I propose to do now is to switch it off. The reason is, I think that like all proper friends meetings, we ought to begin with a short silence. On again. This is on again. But you're going to hold it for me. Right.
Do you want Elizabeth to hold those for you?
John Anderson is very kindly going to hold this for me so you can hear what I've been thinking. First of all, I'm very grateful indeed to John Dunston for his few words and for his very great thought, a kind thought, flattering thought of dedicating this building to myself. But I want to start my own few words, which will be much shorter than the heads, I may say, nowadays, just by pleasing you as friends, all of you. I was thinking of starting it by saying ladies and gentlemen, but friends is much better because it includes both. And it changes my speech completely, because I was going to start by pointing out that for mathematics, it's just as good a subject for girls as it is for boys. And then, bless me, when I found out who was in charge of the whole thing and taking the lesson, it turned out to be Bridget Evans, a girl herself, marvellous. That's just what I needed. I've just been in there listening to a lesson about statistics. And statistics, of course, go with probability. And because I keep on being ill and going to hospital and so on, it's rubbed into me that I was born on the 24th of May in 1919. And I'd like to know, hands up please, anyone older than me who's here. Richie, I'm so glad to see a hand go up. Oh, so you are, Mash. Very good. Well, I'm not the oldest, but I'm probably the worst impaired. And that's why I'm so grateful to be here and to have found out already that it's in charge of a lady, because that was going to be part of my little few words which I don't need to give. I've been taught by my first ever maths teacher was a lady, actually, a Miss Cook, when I was 9. And she was the one who inspired me with a love of mathematics. And without her, when I was only 9, there wouldn't have been this meeting here today, or this building named after me. It had to be called after somebody else. So, anyhow, added to statistics is a branch of probability, and the probability of very, very low that I should be here at all. What I was expecting when I first heard they were going to do this building was that they would call on some distinguished OL mathematician and former pupil, such as Michael Leach, to come and declare this building open in memory of me. But no, here am I still alive. But it would have been very much more predictable had it been Michael had the job to do. And I think that's quite enough of statistics. And time really, I won't rub it in how very improbable my being here is with all my car accidents and other things, and which might, after all, kill any of us any day at no notice. I think I'm just about now to, with much gratitude, declare this building open. I believe I've got to cut a tape. Thank you. I'll cut a tape.